Someone gave, someone donated, someone left a legacy. Generations of generous someones have helped shape Rhode Island into this amazing place we call home. How do you thank them? By leaving your own legacy. We can help.
Welcome to another edition of In Another Opinion, a public information program where our discussions are focused on the communities of color in the state of Rhode Island. I'm your host, Peter Wells. My guest today is Superintendent of Providence Schools, Harrison Peters. Welcome, Harrison.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, Nick and I have talked a bit to try to get you on, and I know you've been so busy with with what's going on right now with the pandemic and the school systems. It's a challenging time. I don't know how you do it.
One day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time.
I hear that. Listen, I've got a few questions for you. What was your take on the John Hopkins study of the Providence schools? Considering the challenges that were outlined in that study, why did you apply for this position?
Well, when I first came to PPSD, obviously it was before the pandemic hit. And I made a strong emphasis to visit every school and talk to parents and teachers and students. And based on what I saw and what I heard, I think the John Hopkins report really validated a lot of the things that I heard from the community and what students were telling me. We knew that we needed to do better on a number of fronts. I think the John Hopkins report allowed us to shout it out from the rooftops. Many people have described it as sort of a scathing report of the reality of public education in Providence. From a facilities perspective, we knew that we had an aging and an old infrastructure that had been neglected for decades. But that being said, I mean, obviously the governor and the commission and the mayor, they've all stepped up and are committed to unprecedented investments in our buildings. I think we passed maybe $300 million worth of capital improvements a few weeks ago. So we're excited that our buildings are now going to get the attention that they need. But whether you're state-of-the-art facility or less than an ideal environment, our core mission is teaching and learning. That is the core of our work. And that is where we have to put the bulk of our focus and our attention. Whether it's a pandemic or not, and you'll hear me frequently say that our students won't get a COVID pass. But we've got to do a better job on delivering instruction. We can have the state-of-the-art buildings and students aren't learning. So we're going to focus squarely on a lot of the things that the John Hopkins report outlined, but we also know that we have to do a better job in the teaching and learning department. A high quality curriculum is important, along with assignments in classrooms that match the level of those expectations, that are grade level appropriately. And then we just have to have a common belief that all children can learn, no matter what your zip code, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from. We've got to make sure the students are successful.
Well, you know, there was millions of dollars, of course, that the citizens voted in for infrastructure for our schools. Has that money started to flow directly to you from the commissioner and the governor?
Yes, a couple weeks ago, we had a press release where the mayor, the commissioner, and the governor announced a major capital investment to the tune of $300 million. The first $140 million are going to go to some much needed repairs. And in that announcement, alongside that announcement, we had former Mayor Paolino, who donated St. Joseph's Hospital to the city. So we're going to be able to leverage some of that money to create a brand new facilities for our schools, so for our students. So we're really excited about that. So the answer is yes, we're well on our way to a number of much needed capital investments.
Well, that's good to hear, because, I mean, obviously the schools are old, and trying to retrofit some of those old buildings is going to cost a ton of money and, of course, time.
Yeah.
And that'll be ongoing, I imagine, during the school year.
It will be ongoing. And the beauty of having a St. Joe's is we can use that as swing space. We can move students sort of in and out of that building while we're preparing the buildings that we've transitioned them out. So as you know, our buildings are full right now. So we're at capacity. So this added facilities will allow us to use that as swing space. You also asked me earlier about why did I even apply for this position. I didn't want to lose that piece because I think that really speaks to the core of who I am and what I believe. I am Providence. When I look at the students and the children that we serve, I see me. I see the two brothers that that I was raised with, and education it's personal to me. That's my personal mission. It changed my circumstances. It changed my life. It brought me here, no question. This is why I am sitting in the superintendent seat today, because education changed my life. I'm the father of two Black boys, and I want them to live and exist in a world where there's more equitable distribution of resources and opportunities. I want people to look at those young men by what they bring to the table, their differences, their uniquenesses, the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And we have some of the same challenges here in Providence that unfortunately our nation is plagued with. And for me, when I'm looking for the opportunity, my whole career has been I don't want to characterize myself as a first responder. Those folks do above and beyond work, but I run to the work. I've always followed tough work and tough assignments from big cities like Chicago, Houston, Tampa, Orlando, Charlotte. I've always gone where I believe that I could be the most benefit. And I just have a love for education. I'm lucky to have the commissioner who did a lot of work before me, before I even walked into the doors of Providence Public Schools. They had done a lot of work with engaging the community, holding town hall meetings, getting feedback. So I felt as if I walked in sort of on a cloud of success because so much work has been done before I had gotten here. So when I got here, the community design team had already been actively engaged in building out the TAP and talking about what's important to the community, how the school district be more responsive. So again, just the work that we believe in.
Very good. Well, my mom was an English teacher and later a guidance counselor, so I do understand the commitment to education. I grew up under that umbrella. But listen, what will the fall bring to Providence parents, students, and teachers? This is a new day.
Yeah. It is a new day. And I talked a few minutes ago about our core mission being teaching and learning. And my expectations this fall brings just that: high quality education, regardless of whether it's delivered in person or whether it's delivered virtually. It will bring grade level assignments and rigor to our students. We don't get a COVID pass. In 4 or 5 years from now, where our high schoolers, if you're in the 9th grade or 8th graders, are sitting in that college admissions office and, hey, I'd like to be a student at this institution, they're not going to be able to look at that admissions counselor and say, hey, I went to school during the time that was COVID, so I get a pass. We're not allowed to do that. You and I know we've been in this world long enough to understand that there are no passes. You have to be prepared. So obviously the fall is going to be different. And we also want to acknowledge that we are still in the middle of a pandemic. But our core mission is our core mission. And our core mission is teaching and learning. And we want to make sure that our students get what they need so they can be prepared to go out into life, career, college, whatever it is that they plan to do and be.
You know, I guess the question that a lot of parents have, and of course I do. I mean, I'm a parent, but I don't have any children in the school system. My children are adults now. I do have a granddaughter who's on her way to college at Clark University, and she right now is taking online classes. But can you assure our listeners that schools will be safe for kids this fall? And if not, will parents have the right to opt out of sending their kids to face-to-face classrooms?
Yeah, so I'll reframe that question just a little bit, if you don't mind, because I've gotten that question a couple times.
I'm sure.
I'm not sure if it's fair to say 100%, because I don't think in this life or in this world anything is 100%. But what I can say is that we will absolutely assure that we will lead with the science, we will lead with the data. Nothing is 100% foolproof. But we're going to make sure that we do everything that we can. As I talk to many of our community members and our parents and our teachers about reopening, we've got 5 core principles that we've built our reopening plan around. And core principle number 1 is the safety of staff and students. We're not going to neglect safety of staff and students. Can parents select to or elect to go to completely online? No question. Originally, we thought of having a virtual learning academy, is what we call it, for our students that are medically fragile, that are medically compromised, and more susceptible to the COVID-19 virus. Then we heard an outcry from parents, hey, we want this option. So to date, we've enrolled nearly 6,500 students into our complete virtual academy. Those students won't see brick and mortar this semester. They'll be completely virtual because that's the option that they've chosen. I will say, sort of the counter narrative to that is we still have another 75% of our families who say we want an in-person option or some type of hybrid. So our parents and community have spoken loud and clear. We've got about 6,500 that will be completely online, and the other 19,000 or so say that they are comfortable coming back to school. So we felt it necessary to offer both of those options.
Now, how do you staff the online academy?
Yeah, so our online academy is staffed with our PPSD teachers. We value the work that they bring to the table. What it does look like is a larger caseload. The online virtual academy, well, the virtual academy looks very different than traditional brick and mortar schools. Obviously, parents have to play a larger role as being the learning coach. There is a subject area teacher who has office hours, who can run small group lessons, but it's designed for students to be the curriculum is flexible, self-paced, and it's module-based so students can work through. Now, this is at the high school level. I want to be very clear.
Okay.
The module base is built at the high school level. Elementary, middle, it's more of a traditional distance learning platform that we had in the fall. But because the stakes are so high in high school with credits and graduation and college, we wanted to stand up this virtual learning academy that it could sort of look like what happened in high school with the content and have teachers that are content experts in those areas.
Will there be any sports this year in high school?
So we're hoping so. Again, we're gonna.
It's a big question in the community.
Well, that's important. I mean, many, and I don't want to reduce this. You find a lot of our students, that says connector. The main research talks about connecting students to school. And we know sports is a strong connector to kids. So we're going to work with our high school athletic association to see what we can do. Our teams have been practicing this summer. I've given the green light from them to practice if they can be socially distanced, if they can make sure they have frequently breaks to breathe and to have a PPE or hand sanitizer and washing their hands. So we've had a good group of students practicing this summer. We've got to continue to follow the science and the data to see what that looks like in the spring. But we hope to. I'm hoping that we can. But then again, we want to make sure that everything we lead through the lens of safety first.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I'm a boys club kid, and I play sports.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to me, that was a lifesaver for me as well as school, of course. But sports were very important in my life. Listen, one of the issues that I know you're going to be challenged with is transportation to and from schools. How is that going to work this fall?
Yeah, so just to put a plug in a couple things, we are nearly about $18 million in spending just in COVID preparation. Talking about getting our buildings clean, ensuring that PPE, our personal protective equipment, schools are retrofitted, ventilation, everything that you've probably heard in the last few weeks, we've been trying to aggressively address those. Transportation is no different. We know that our buses at the elementary level, we privatize our busing, so we've got a bus company, Students First. Those buses hold about 70 students each. Well, considering the current guidance, we have to reduce our ridership about 65%. So the max we'll be able to hold is about 35 students. However, remember I shared earlier that we've got about 6,500 students that are going to go virtually. So that's going to decrease the ridership both with our RIPTA, middle and high school, and our Students First. So what we've been able to do is reroute all students. We've also looked at our start times for school, because remember, in order to get students to school safely, we need about an hour between drop off of schools. So what that means is we've got to clean the buses, make sure that they're ready for the next group of students. We've got to screen students as they come on buses. So we need about an hour between drop-offs to make sure that our buses are ready. So we've had to go in and we've had to sort of imagine some of our school start times. So you'll see some of our schools maybe starting about 30 minutes earlier than they have in the past. Some maybe start about 30 minutes later than they have in the past. And it's all so that we can get the logistics correct on our buses. But we plan to transport students safely. We've got a plan for that. We've got a plan to make sure that we can socially distance students. We've purchased approximately 3,600 passes for high school students. This is very different from now the 6,200 that are eligible, because in the past, students only got a pass or a RIPTA pass if you live 2 miles or more. Now
Right.
we've been able to reduce that significantly. So we've increased our ridership to make sure that students can get to school on time, and then you have to walk shorter distances to your bus stops.
Well, hopefully that'll work out well. I mean, there were even hiccups during the regular school year with transportation, and
Yep.
hopefully those get worked out. You mentioned in the course of our conversation, you mentioned the St. Joseph's Hospital as potential swing space. Would that be for elementary or middle school or high school?
Yeah, so our vision for that ultimately is to be a K-8 school. It's a large facility, so we believe that we could build a really strong K-8 school as a result of that. Part of what we want to be able to do is we made a commitment to the community that we would look at strengthening and repairing sort of our dilapidated buildings. So as we bring St. Joe's online, that would allow us to fix some of the much needed infrastructure challenges that we're having in some of our current buildings, move students back to their new building while we're creating sort of this K-8 opportunity for law, because that's going to be our building. So we get the opportunity to have a brand new building for the community. Obviously, we know that schools are a strong sort of piece of their community. So we were really excited about Mayor Paolino's donation, and we're going to start, I think, construction on that in a very, very near future.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. And thank you to Joe Paolino.
Yes.
I want to switch a little bit, Harrison, and you mentioned the commissioner that she had done a lot of work prior to you arriving, and that you've worked well with her. I know it's been reported that there's been some school districts that haven't been as pleased, apparently, with working with the state. But is there any issues that you've not agreed on in terms of Providence school systems with the state?
Yeah, I'm lucky. I feel as if I get the access that I need to the commissioner. She has been a very strong thought partner in this work. And if anybody knows her or have talked to her, she is deeply rooted in the community. She believes in this work. PPSD, I mean, the whole state is her baby. But obviously she has a vested interest in PPSD because she led the intervention. So we're thrilled to partner with RIDE, and I am excited to be able to sit on her cabinet and get the advice and counsel that she gives. We've regular check-ins where we sort of jump and dive into the work. I can't be anything but complimentary, just the way that she's helped us, through a very difficult time. And all school districts are different. You know, we know that we've got a unique state, and we've got districts all over the state that are very different, from urban to suburban to rural, and all have very unique needs. So I couldn't imagine the challenge that she has to go through to balance all of those needs. When you look at applying certain policies or expectations to Providence, it may make sense for Providence, but it may not make sense for Bristol. It may not make sense for Barrington. So we want to make sure that that we're looking specifically at the needs of our community. And a commissioner has allowed to do that. She understands the uniquenesses of Providence, and not just, the commissioner, but our city council, president, the mayor, the governor. Everyone has aligned around this notion of intervention, and very rarely do you see the stars align in that manner to where you've got all your public officials in a really nice, strong cohort that we believe that we need to do whatever it takes to make Providence successful. So my hat's off to the commissioner. And I also like to put a plug in for our 3 pillars. The core of her work is engaged communities. And she is led through that lens. And then excellence is learning in learning has been a key lever. But then I find one, world-class talent has been a strong key lever for us. And we've been aggressively going after teachers of color. We've not been staffed with the volume of teachers of color that we believe would be very instrumental to this work. We've got about 80% of our teachers are white, and great teachers, but we also know that all students benefit from having interacted and being taught by teachers of color. So we've just really inundated ourselves in recruiting teachers of color very hard and aggressively. And this year, we're about 36% higher in our hires of teachers of color than we were in the past. And last year, this time, we were sitting on maybe 100 vacancies. And the last I checked, we were in the low 30s. Still a little work to go, but we believe that we're doing great work to prepare and get ready for our students.
Now, a lot of those hires coming from out of state, or these are people that were here and ready to work?
A combination of out of the state and people that are here. We've got a pretty good footprint with Teach for America, who has also leaned in and helped us recruit many candidates of color and quality candidates. Let me just be very clear. Our goal is to have quality candidates irrespective of what you look like, but we also place a high value on diversity and equity. So yeah, a combination of local folks and a combination of external talent as well.
Very good. One more question on communication. How are you communicating this to people who have English as a second language?
Yeah, so all our public communication goes out in primarily 2 languages, Spanish and English. We have a robust Convolve system that also translates many of our messages into 30 or 40 different languages. We know that the city of Providence is very rich in cultural and ethnicity and all of those things. So we try to communicate in a broad spectrum. You call our Parent Resource Center, our hotline. We've also have folks that speak Spanish as well. And that's an ongoing opportunity to get better. We'll roll out our new customer service process called Let's Talk, where people will be able to call into the district and get an owner, and we'll have to respond in 24 hours time that we've acknowledged that. So we're trying to do a lot of things, A, to communicate better, B, to offer a higher level of customer service. Because again, these are the things that we've been hearing from families since we've been here about our communication and our level of customer service. If you visit our reopening PPSD school site, it is a wealth of information around what reopening will look like. It has our virtual learning academy. It is also in both English and Spanish as well. So we obviously can always do a better job, but we do believe we're doing a pretty good job with communicating with families and communities.
Well, very good. And we're getting toward the end of the show, but I wanted to, is there anything specific you'd like to pass on to the listeners regarding school opening this year?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. Just an awesome conversation, and really hope to come back and continue this dialogue.
Oh, absolutely.
Families to understand is just be flexible and be patient. No one has ever dealt with this before. There is no playbook, and I know it can be frustrating as a parent with a high schooler. It's frustrating for us as well, but we are really feverishly trying to plan for a safe reopening. To our students, we miss you dearly. We can't wait for you to get back. Parents, we miss you. To my teachers out there, really hats off to all the work that you've done in preparing this summer. We've had a robust professional development summer. Something that we've never had in a while, Peter, is 5 days of professional development. We get to bring all of our teachers back 5 days early, to plan for a safe reopening, but give them some strong training that they've always asked for, and that was called out in the John Hopkins report. So yes. The city of Providence, just really excited about being a superintendent. This community believes in education, has stood up and stood in the gap and accepted the call. So thank you for having me, and just really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, we're definitely going to have you back, and as the school year continues, just to see how things are going, and let us know about the tweaks that are going to obviously have to take place during the school year. It's one of the biggest issues that have always plagued Providence is the Teachers Association, the unions, and in a few words, how you're working out with them.
Yeah, so when labor and management are at loggerheads, nothing gets accomplished. We've been able to work with PTU in a couple critical areas to bring students back safely. And not just PTU, but many of our community organizations. Just imagine reopening amidst of a pandemic. There are just some things that may not align with the current contract. And we want to come to the table, and we have come to the table, and PTU has been very accepting of that. We just talked about bringing teachers back 5 days early. That was a shared agreement that we had with the PTU. We still have some work to do. We are amidst collective bargaining as we speak. We've been bargaining for about 20 weeks to get to a student-centered contract to change the conditions in Providence Public Schools. I've asked everyone to be willing to behave differently. Me, principals, community members, and also our teachers. So we're aggressively having those conversations, and we hope to get to a student-centered contract that's going to benefit the students of Providence Public Schools.
Harrison, we're going to be running out of time soon. So in closing, I'd just like to say this. This is an opinion show. So as a parent of adult children, I don't have to make this difficult decision this year with COVID-19 between educating children and their health. But it'll be interesting to see what the viewers say when this show airs, when school is back on. We enjoyed having you on. We're going to have you back on, and we hope that things go well.
Peter, we're excited to be here. Thank you for having us. Great to always engage the community. I encourage folks to look at our website, our reopening PPSD.org website, a wealth of information. We're updated every day. We know that there are tons of questions. We want to answer those questions, but I want to thank you and your listeners for having me. Just a great opportunity to engage with the community. Thank you so much, Mr. Wells.
Well, thank you. And we have run out of time, but I want to thank today's guest, Superintendent Harrison Peters, and you, the viewers, for tuning in to another edition of In Another Opinion. A special thanks to PBS for making this program possible. I'm your host, Peter Wells. Give us your opinion on Facebook or Twitter at In Another Opinion, and have a great day.
Someone gave, someone donated, someone left a legacy. Generations of generous someones have helped shape Rhode Island into this amazing place we call home. How do you thank them? By leaving your own legacy.